everybody, and welcome back to another Simply Made Saturday with me, Helen Armstrong. Those of you who know me, I'm Pandrapops Crafting Joyful Moments, and I try to share on a Simply Made Saturday cards that are quite simple to do, but do take a little bit of thinking about sometimes. This week we are working with stencils, but not pre-made stencils. I have this, which is called Floral Flight Accents, and it is in our May to August catalogue, which is currently out. Now, you get one sheet of cutouts, die cuts, that you can use on cards and what have you. I decided that I would try something different today and use them as a stencil. So I've popped out this big one here, which actually was the one that created there. And I've also popped out some smaller ones here that we're going to use on one of the cards today. One of the techniques I'm going to say to you, one of the things I'm going to say, top tip, is the Tombow multi-mono liquid glue, the green one. If you put it on, so let me just show you, if you just put a dab of this on your card, on the die cut, leave it to dry, it becomes a removable stencil that you can use over and over again, or once you've used this as a stencil, obviously you can then stick it to a card base. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to create something like this, but I'm also going to be using the Sincerely Noted ephemera pack for the sentiments as well. All right, so I'm just going to give that a little second to dry, and I'll go through the inks that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be using for the leaves, Old Olive, Garden Green, Granny Apple Green, and for the flowers themselves, Bubble Bath, Strawberry Slush, and Flirty Flamingo. So we'll be working from light to dark, because I'm only going to use one brush for the green. I also have a little smaller stencil brush for the smaller areas that I want to just add a little bit more colour. I'm using this small one for the pinks because I want to create sort of a 3-colour look, and I'm also used a small one just to add some texture and colour to the blank leaves. Okay, so let's get started. Let's just put that out the way, move those out the way first. Bring in a card base. So I've already scored my card base. So here in the United Kingdom, my card base is 10.5 centimetres by 14.8, 14.9, depending on how you want to cut it. So yeah, that is adhered nicely. You can see it's stuck down, it's not moving. Yeah. So I'm going to go in with my lighter colour first, which is the Granny Apple Green. And all I'm going to do is go around the outside. I have got a spare piece of card somewhere, so I can dab off. Now, if I was sensible, I'd be doing this on a glass mat, because whatever ink I put on the side, I could then use a bit of water to mix it in and then smush it off for a background. So I'm just tapping off before coming in. I'm just lightly, very lightly adding that Granny Apple Green just around where the leaves are. You could technically go all over everything, but if you can avoid where the flowers are, it's almost beneficial. And I will apologise if my hand will go over this, because I am left-handed. It's a lot easier if you are right-handed not to get your hand in frame, and I've been realising. So today is the 13th of June 2026, if you're joining me at a much later time. Yeah, can't believe, as I say every week, that we are almost halfway through the year. I mean, within a couple of days we will technically be halfway through the year. Where has this time gone? doesn't seem long ago that we had Christmas and then Easter. Okay, so I'm just going to put my Granny Apple Green away for a little while because we're going to pick that up again. And I'm going to bring in my Old Olive. I'm just going to come in a little bit, adding a little bit more shade in some areas with the Old Olive. I should have dabbed it off, shouldn't I? Always remember, what do I always say to you? Don't do as I do a lot of the time. Learn from my mistakes. Just want to bring a little bit more darkness to the area. I'm just tapping it off on the leaf. Yeah, I just want to bring a little bit more shade in certain places. And it just picks up. Each time I do this, I do it very slightly differently. So it means every card that you create in this manner will more than likely be different. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to bring in is our Garden Green. Again, this will bring in a little bit more shading. You may notice the stencil brushes I'm using. Just because I'm using a stencil brush, I could use our blenders and it would work just as well because I've stuck things down. So these would work just as well, the Stampin' Up blenders. But for this, I prefer just a stenciling brush. And you can get these stenciling brushes reasonably cheaply, but I find that it is worth paying a little bit extra just for that just extra quality. And there are loads of videos on YouTube by the people how to stencil. Again, I just make it up as I go along technically, but yeah, I mean, I should have really not gone in that bit, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Right, okay. So I'm going to bring in my bubble bath now and we're going to start the flower. And I'm just going to swirl it round. See, I'm going to swirl it round in my ink. And I'm just going to go over the whole of the area. Yeah, it's not looking great where I got the green, but let's gloss over that ever so slightly. We will be adding some deeper colour. So I'm just using this all over. I'm not having to keep it in any particular place because we're going to add those darker bits. And as I said, make sure you don't do what I've just done, which is go over in green. Because I wasn't really concentrating, I was too busy chatting. Yeah. Okay, let's bring in our Flirty Flamingo. This is quite a bit darker. And let's just go over our green bits there. That's a bit better. More like an orangey colour, isn't it, than a pink? Yeah, this has not gone as I would have liked because of me going over the green, but I've not got as much shading as I would like coming through. Really lost a lot of that. Bubble bath, unfortunately. Okay, and then we're going to bring in our strawberry slush. And I'm just going to go straight in with it. I'm not dabbing off with this one. yeah, so the flowers aren't as good as I was, you know, they were on the other one. But we've still got a little bit of dimension. And the last thing I'm going to do is, well, not the last thing I'm going to do before I take, it is the last thing I'm going to do before taking the stencil off, not the last thing we're going to do on this card. I'm just going to dip into my green, my garden green, and I'm just going to flick up if I can, just to pick up. So we're just flicking up just to get a bit more dimension on those leaves there. Okay, now we're going to peel off. So this will peel off really, really nicely. And we're just going to add, using our smaller brushes, just a bit of colour on here. Just towards the bottom. Because we're going to add some of our granny apple green in a bit. It's just again to build up a little bit of colour. Could leave them white if you wanted to. They would absolutely look fine if you left them white. Okay, and I'm now going to come in with my granny apple green. Just over the top. I think I said this last week, I think I really need to re-ink my granny apple green. Because it's very faint in places. Again, if you wanted to, you could go round with a black pen to add some further, just to pick out some bits. If you wanted to add some further dimension to it, you could absolutely do that. I'm just going to go over those leaves a little bit and then come in on the stalk. Okay, so that's the first card done. And this one, I think I'm just going to go with Hey There Friend. And I'm just going to peel the sticker off if I can. There we go. Yeah, don't do what I've just done, which is bend it. It's probably not the straightest, but there we go. Okay, so that's our first card done. If you wanted to add some further dimension at the, not dimension, if you wanted to add something different at the back, what you could do is we have these other leaves and stencils from the same pack, and you could just go over. And then you peel off again, which would just give you that effect at the back of the card, which is quite pretty. Okay, so we're going to bring in, so that's those cards, how different they are. You can, as I said, they change every single time. I'm going to bring our next card in, and we are going to be using our smaller pieces. So I'm just going to place them. Do I want? Doesn't matter if you end up going over the top of some of them, because I think we will do. Want that to maybe be there, and then in fact I think I might peel that one off, put that like that, redo where these are. So it is up to you how you place them. Right, okay. I'm going to put happy birthday or thanks with that, but we're also going to add a butterfly to this one. Okay, we are going to use the same colours, but this time I only want to pick up a little bit of the green, so I'm just going to come in with the Granny Apple green and go around those leaves first of all. So I'm going to give it a big go around. So because you've done lots of layering with the flowers, just if you need to just keep your finger on it slightly, you may do, because they might be struggling to stick because I've done lots of layers on this. Okay, I might just bring in a little bit of Old Olive just to provide, again, that little bit of shading. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my smaller brush because I don't want it everywhere. I just want it on certain things, you know, making sure we're looking at where shadows and things are. Okay, so again, this is just using the ephemera, which is what we would call this. So using the Floral Flight Accents as our as a stencil, using it for something different, something that, you know, you wouldn't normally use it for. Okay, and then I'm just going to blend over the top again. Okay, I am going to leave that there because I might add a little bit more colour. But before we do that, I'm going to make our... I think I'm going to do the butterfly Flirty Flamingo, but I'm using our little brush again. And I'm just going to go very, very lightly around the outside. So I don't want it too much past the butterfly itself. Okay. Alright, and now before I do anything else, what I am going to do is I'm going to bring in a little bit of blue. I hadn't thought about this, but I'm actually going to bring in a little bit of Pool Party. I'm tapping an awful lot off of this. I don't want masses of it. And I'm just blending round to give it a little bit of a sky effect. Okay. And I'm going to bring in my garden green. I thought I wasn't going to use it, but I am going to use it. And we're just going to go from the bottom. So we've just got a little bit different dimensional at the bottom with adding that garden green. So we've almost got a bit of a scene going on with this one. Right, okay, what I might decide to do though, I just realised what I might do is I want to make the corners slightly darker, just to build up. To almost do a little bit of a vignette effect on it. Okay. And then with our garden green, similar thing. And then we can bring in our the granny apple green, stamp that off a little bit, and then just blend in. Blend in. I wasn't going to do a scene type of effect, but that's what it's turned into. Okay. Right, let's lift off and then see what we have. You never know what it's going to look like. Okay, so I've got this one here. Okay, so just going to bring in that little bit of green, just so they're not a solid. White, but if you wanted to, obviously you can pick up them darker in certain places. You might want to come in with a pen rather than a stencil, but you know, stencil works, so why not? Sorry, not with a brush. A pen rather than a brush. I will get my words out. So you can add as much or as little as you want. I think I'm actually going to probably spoil it if I do any more. So let's close that down. Let's close all of our bits and pieces. And then I'm going to quickly wipe my hands because I realise I've yet again covered them in paint. And ink, not paint. Okay. There's never a Simply Made Saturday or a sharing Sunday where I don't do that. Okay, so let's then take our butterfly off, and there we have quite a sweet scene. Now, are we going to do thanks or are we going to do happy birthday? Ooh, I think that's probably slightly too big, and I think this thanks is slightly too small. Okay, let's just see what we have. So we could do a hello, we could do a thinking of you. Yeah, let's do the thinking of you. I mean, you could even use this as a sympathy card if you wanted to. My sincerest sympathy. It would work, absolutely. Right, instead of trying to bend it, let's use the pokey tool to take off the backing. There we go. It's a lot better than bending it, isn't it? Now you could obviously put this up on dimensionals instead of taking the backing off if you wanted to, but the pokey tool works just as well. Let me just adjust that. Okay. All right, so I'm quite happy with that one as well. The next one I'm going to do, we are just going to do with the butterflies. So, last card of the day. I need to find my butterfly. Here it is. Let's turn that over because I've managed to get ink already on the back of it. Okay. I'm just going to wipe down because we don't want it to be wet. Okay, so I'm going to stick my card and I'm going to use the 3 different colours that we had for the pink. So I'm going to open them all up. So we have Flirty Flamingo, Strawberry Slush, and Bubble Bath. So we're going to start with our lightest. And we're just going to dab, just use a dabbing motion for this one. A little bit around the outside, okay. Then I'm going to lift my butterfly and I'm going to move it down here and we're going to do another bubble bath. I'm going to lift it up. Oh, I maybe could have done a little bit more around the outside with that one. Okay. Let's lift it up. And then we're going to just change the direction a little bit of our butterfly, and I'm going to come in with Flirty Flamingo. Dab off a little bit because I don't want it to be as bright. Okay, lift it up. Let's put it down here, I think. Okay, and then we're going to bring in our Strawberry Slush. Again, it's a very juicy pad. So especially if it's a new pad, my advice would be to definitely tap off from your stencil brush, because new pads are always very, very juicy. Especially these new ones, that these current ones that we have. Okay, I think we might have one just at that corner. Now we've done 6 butterflies. We cannot in the crafting world, we like odd numbers. It just draws the eye better. So we are going to have to do another butterfly. So I'm actually going to bring it down here. Let's go Flirty Flamingo. Okay, let's do one off this corner, Strawberry Slush. So now we have 8, so we need a 9th. Okay, where are we going to put our 9th? Right in the middle, I think. Obviously you can do as many as you want to. It is up to you. Coming in with my Strawberry Slush. It is a gorgeous pink. It came out at the same time as Secret Sea, and I'm hoping maybe they might keep Strawberry Slush as well as Secret Sea, but I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. It will be interesting to see what the colours are when we are getting a colour refresh and Stampin' Up next year, so I'm a bit excited to see what we're going to keep and what we're going to put away, what we're going to lose. But yeah, okay, so another simple one, and this time we are just going to use our happy birthday. But what I'm going to do is I am going to pick up and just go over on here just to deepen the colour ever so slightly with that last bit of Strawberry Slush that we have, and it'll hopefully bring in the colours. There we go. Okay, my pokey tool. Turn it round. where are we going to put it? You know what, I think we're just going to put it here. Okay, happy birthday. Now, that is not straight. That is not straight in the slightest. I know it's curved, but even as a curved one, well, I can't do anything about it. It doesn't look like it's straight. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring them all back in that we've made, and we're going to add just some subtle embellishments. So I'm just going to grab behind me and grab the embellishments. Can't find the embellishments, which I did have this morning, which were behind me. Oh, they're not behind me, they're on the floor by the side of me. Okay, so we're going to bring in, let's just have a look what we can use. I have lots of embellishments at the moment that we have come various sets. So we have some nice sets which have got some white in them, which might be quite nice, and some nice, you know, some olive and some green. So yeah, let's have a look. I think I might just use the white and the green. So let's have a look. Now again, rule of embellishments, 3, 5, 7 if you were going to go any more than that. Personally, I think 5 is probably what a maximum should be. Right, what do we put one on? No, let's just, right, let's just put one there. Okay, I didn't do that very well, did I? Okay, let's lift you up. Put it down. Ah, it's not wanting to stick onto my card. Okay. There we go. That's the first one. This is our second one. I might put green on this one, or I could possibly bring in, no, I think the blue's a bit, yeah, let's put green. I think the blue would be, especially the dark blue would be too much. So these dots that I'm using are the Moody Palette Glossy Dots. Okay, put one there. And then last of all is this one. Now, I'm not sure about any of those. Let me just have a look. I'm going to go for our Sunset Sparkle sequins, and I'm going to use these ones which are a bit not pearlescent is not the word that I'm looking for. I can't think of the word. 2 and 3. Okay, so that is our cards done. Now if you wanted to take it to the extra degree, obviously you can add on the back, and you can also stencil on your envelopes as well before you send. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and as always, craft your joy.